Hello everybody and welcome to another video that I'm posting on another magnificent Monday morning. In this video, I'm going to be doing a couple of things, starting with undocking from this space station and landing this space shuttle back at the Kerbal Space Center. We can see now, looking out of the upper windows on the shuttle flight deck, we can see the station fall away from us, and then we can begin our deorbit burn. Usually for space shuttles, I start the deorbit burn just before we get directly over the, that big desert directly west of the Kerbal Space... directly west of the Kerbal Space Center. I usually begin the deorbit burn then, but this time I had a little bit less monopropellant than usual, and so I had to begin the deorbit just a little bit sooner to... because I didn't have, basically, it's either you start your burn sooner or you burn for longer, and I didn't have the option to burn for longer, so I had to begin my burn sooner. But that's long gone. We are now just shutting the payload bay doors, and then we are going to flip the shuttle around to prograde using Smart ASS rather than the in-game Auto SAS, or not in-game, but I mean the stock Auto SAS. We're using MechJeb Smart ASS because it's much more stable and oh my gosh, it's much more stable than stock SAS for holding like this specific pitch. And so yeah, that's what we're doing now. Right now we are holding we're holding our re-entry. We're gonna do this very similar to the actual real-life space shuttle re-entry, where we will be sort of keeping the nose pitched between 40 and 35 degrees to maintain, or to maintain or to produce, maximum drag. And then we'll also be banking side to side to make sure we don't completely overshoot the Kerbal Space Center, and we actually, I mean, if you've seen the video How to Land a Space Shuttle, that's one of the videos that, like, man, I owe a lot to that video, How to Land a Space Shuttle from Space. I'll link it in the description. But that video, man, that's one of the main things that got me into Kerbal Space Program. Also, as you can see, the beautiful re-entry effects courtesy of the Firefly mod, licking the belly of the space shuttle as we descend through the atmosphere of Kerbin towards our landing site at the Kerbal Space Center. Now, we are a little bit higher than I usually am for these kinds of landings. So what we're going to do is, as the worst of the sort of re-entry gases begin to dissipate, we will start to bank more aggressively to sort of send our trajectory more southward, rather than using our lift to bring our trajectory, to bring it further eastward, basically. We're trying to use our lift to point ourselves west, and now we're going to, or west. Trying to use our lift to point ourselves south and north, rather than it continuing to, or rather than letting it continue to carry us east. Wow, that was such a very complicated thing for me to say for a not very complicated not very complicated concept that, was much better shown in the video than I probably could have ever articulated it in words. And that maneuver allowed us to pull this maneuver, this sort of a high G maneuver, or high G bank maneuver, almost like a sort of pseudo heading alignment cone, where we are just descending and turning around to get ourselves lined up with the KSC's runway. We will descend further and continue to just bank ourselves and try to straighten out with this not particularly wieldy space plane. As we sort of bring it down for a nice runway landing, we're at 700 meters above the ground, 500, 400, 300, 200, 100, 70 meters. Oh god, alright, we just brought the gear down there. 30 meters, 20 meters, 15, 12, 11. Oh, we're climbing. Let's bring it back down. Let's bring the nose down. 14 meters, let's just let it fall. And would you look at that? That's beautiful, I'd say. I'd go as far as to call that butter. That was beautiful. It was a beautiful runway landing performed by this space shuttle. I think this one was like Athens. Comment in the description, or leave a comment if you notice the name of the orbiter. It's on the left wing, I believe. Yeah, it should be on the left wing. I don't remember. I think this one was Athens, though. I have like so in my little headcanon of the space program, we have 5 space shuttles, much like the real 5 space shuttles that NASA owned. We have the Pacifica, the Advantage, Endurance, Athens, and Pioneer. I think those are the 5. I think that's what I call them. Oh, hey, look at this. We're launching an SLS now. We're launching our second rocket, and we're launching the sort of main meat and potatoes of the mission, which is the MUN mission. That's right. I didn't even address it in the beginning of this video. Yes, we are going to be visiting the MUN. We're going to be returning to the MUN with an SLS inspired / Artemis inspired. Well, so it's SLS and Space Shuttle derived tech, but in the with the mission profile of an Apollo mission, and that is to say, right, that in that fairing up there at the top is both the Apollo space, well, not Apollo spacecraft, it's the I guess it's the command module, and then below it is the lander stage, and then once that main central core will get us on our trajectory towards the MUN, we will just flip around, do the little transposition and docking to grab the lander from the oh, check out booster separation of the SRBs. There they go. Very nice things. And now we just have the core stage to power us the rest of the way through ascent, and it's actually going to get us all the way to the MUN. Well, I guess not to the MUN, but this is going to perform our transmuter injection burn, and then from there we just do a little. Well, we do the transposition and docking, and then we do a little course correction, and then we capture with the SPS, and I suppose we do the landing. And yeah, you can see that right now. We're just doing the... Actually, I didn't even bother with the parking orbit. I just went straight into my injection burn. Or not injection burn. And then I jettisoned that fairing, and I undocked the first spacecraft. And, well, I guess I undocked the command module. And I docked at the lander, and then I deployed the solar panels. And also the magnetometer, and I believe a relay antenna. Yeah, that's what's on the bottom there by the engine. Yeah. So now that we can see the lander, we can kind of discuss why it is we are doing this mission, right? Because we know what it is we are doing. We are landing on the MUN, and then we are going to, perform some science down there, whatever it is you do on the MUN. And then we're going to return to Kerbin, and return to orbit, and then return to Kerbin. But why are we doing this? If the goal of this whole series is to put is to put Kerbal on Duna. Well, yeah, so that was weird right there. So I actually did my capture burner on the MUN, and I thought the periapsis was like 20 kilometers, but apparently it was like 9,000, and we crashed into the MUN, as you just saw. But we loaded a quick save because we make very good use of that feature on this channel, and we can actually undock the lander now and begin to prepare for our descent. I'll get into why that little SRB is on the bottom of the lander, but first let me finish. Let me quickly pick up the pace and explain why we're doing this. We're doing this whole thing to test the sort of viability of that upper stage. See that little ascent module with the crew compartment? That is going to be the basis of a lot of our landers that we're going to be using for exploration of Ike and Duna. It is the exploration upper stage, or exploration ascent stage. That's what we're going to call it, exploration ascent stage. And it's and all of our sort of scientific landing vehicles will be derived from that, with different sorts of descent stages. And this particular, well, I guess I'll get into it. But we did crash, and I did load a quick save. But I can explain now why that SRB is there. So this particular landing base and descent stage is actually optimized for an Ike landing. Ike landings take about 390 meters per second, and I like to round that up to a little over 500. And this descent stage has 519, I believe, in it when it's fully fueled. That said, actually, the actual Ike variant is just has a tad bit more because it actually has a lighter experiment package, because this one has a special experiment package that is going to be very helpful for testing, for verifying that the things we want to do on Duna and Ike are possible. So yeah, but since this descent stage is optimized for landing on Ike, and landing on Ike only takes about 390 meters per second, it's no good for landing on the Mun, because landing on the Mun takes 580 meters per second in the optimum, which the landing stage does not have on its own. But by gluing that little flea SRB to the bottom, we can get a free 130 well, it's not technically free, but we can get 130 meters per second in deceleration, worth of deceleration, without burning any fuel from the descent stage. So yeah, and with a little bit of help from some fuel from the ascent stage, we crash it again. Oops. We'll load a quick save. This was a repeated process, or pretty repetitive process of just trying to put the thing down. You know, I would burn the SRB and then start the suicide burn, because this needed the absolute most efficient possible landing sequence in order to be possible, I suppose. Yeah, so efficiency was the name of the game here. So a lot of what this was just trying to figure out different altitudes to start the suicide burn at that would actually let me get put myself down on the surface without crashing and without running out of fuel in the descent stage. And so yeah, I'm just pumping a bit of extra fuel out of the ascent stage, because the ascent stage actually has I believe like 740 something meters per second in it. So it actually has some fuel to spare, and so we can just lend that to the descent stage, and it'll just make our rendezvous and docking, or I guess our ascent from the Mun back to the command module, just make it a little bit more difficult. We'll have to use a little bit more of our RCS fuel, but it's okay, and we can do it because we did this. We landed on the Mun. I talked past it, and with some little bits of camera jank, we can deploy our science equipment, our scientific payload. We have these 4 pallets that sort of extend down from the landing base, and this landing base is sort of a common landing base. Of course, this one is optimized for Ike, and so it has all the sort of scientific equipment that you would want on an atmosphereless body. There's no equipment to sort of analyze the atmosphere. There's no parachutes to aid in landing. Of course, aside from that, we do have all the other scientific experiments. And we have a Science Junior, and we have this little case of deployable surface science from the Breaking Ground DLC, so we can go ahead and deploy all those nice little things down there on the surface of the Mun, and we'll have a nice old time with Jebediah Kerman and what's his name?
Can I read that? I think it says
Billy Bob Dunn Kerman. I think he's the other one. Yeah. So and he's a scientist, and. So the reason I took 2 random scientist Kerbals instead of, the OG4, aside from Jebediah, is because I did make a very slight miscalculation when I departed from the station using the space shuttle. Let's just say that, so I can keep up the suspense. And the reason we had to say Jeb is because, the Maverick, Jebediah, he's Jebediah Kerman, the Maverick. This is an untested spacecraft. This is, it's made in flight. The exploration ascent stage, and we need a brave pilot, someone who's not afraid to put his life on the line for the sake of Kerbal kind, and Jebediah is just the man for the job. And I talked past it, but that was our ascent from the lunar surface. Now we're just circularizing into an orbit, and then we will complete the we're actually going to complete the rendezvous and docking using the command module, because we're basically out of fuel in that ascent stage. I think we have like 40 meters per second worth of RCS fuel in there, and that isn't what. Okay, so that burn, I think the little glimpse I caught of it was more than 40 meters per second, but only because I was being lazy and wanted to just force this nice and quickly. And I did get it very quickly. It was just a quick inclination change to get us. Well, it's not really an inclination change because we're basically in a polar orbit, but you know what I mean. A quick. Normal anti-normal burn just to get ourselves lined up, and then And then we just did the rendezvous with the command module because it had way more fuel in it. It had way more fuel to spare. So with that out of the way, we can perform our docking, we can get our Kerbals transferred back over, and crucially, we can do an EVA because there was another detail to this mission that I did not say while we were doing it on the Mun. See, this mission, this is basically going to be a sort of a dry run to see it, to prove all the sort of technology. Oh, that extra science experiment that I said was slightly heavier than the Eikelander's normal science package. That was a drill module so they could verify that it is possible to collect ore on the surface of another planet. And it worked, albeit I did place the radiator wrong, so it only worked for like a couple fractions of a second, and it only got us like 2/10 of a single unit of ore, but it worked. That was good enough for me. We can always fix it in the final design. And you might see that I'm currently re-entering the atmosphere of Kerbin, and I still have the solar panels and service module attached. And that is intentional. See, ever the Mav... So you see, this mission is a dry run of what we're doing for Duna. And what we will be doing on Duna to collect the maximum science is we will be collecting we'll be performing our experiments twice over, each and every time. And then half of those will get sent straight back to R&D on Kerbin, and the other half will be processed in labs in space. And so this is a dry run of that. We have 14 experiments total. 14 of them are in the command module, and the other 14 are in a experiment storage module in the service module. And what we were going to do is dock with this space station that we departed from at the very beginning of this video, and we will deliver that data to be processed in its lab before we bring this spacecraft down to splashdown. And now I can speak about why we were re-entering before, even though the time has passed quite a bit since that happened. So this vehicle, obviously, it needed to escape the Mun's sphere of influence, and that cost us about 500 meters per second. And then, in order to sort of slow ourselves down and get on the level of the space station, it would have costed us a monstrous 700 meters per second. And we didn't have that. We only have about 200 in the service module. So, Ever the Maverick, Jebediah Kerman, decided that we aren't going to give up on this mission. We are going to perform an aero brake, and we'll put the service module to the test and see if it can stand up to the rigors of re-entry and aero braking. Surely this data will prove useful somehow. I mean, it did end up breaking our magnetometer. It broke our main antenna. Luckily, we do have a backup in the service module, and I actually never ended up deploying. I might have deployed it during the spacewalk, but by then it was pointless. We also do have backup power in the service module. It's a monopropellant fuel cell from ReStock, or it's ReStock Plus, because that's the one that gives you. That's the one that gave you the extra part. That's right. But yeah, so we lost all those parts, but we do have backup systems. We have redundancies. So I guess it's just more proof of the amazing capabilities of the Perseus Block 3, which is what I have dubbed this spacecraft. The only way it's different from the Block 2 is it just has more delta V, and yeah, I think it's slightly longer, question mark. I think the service module is a little bit bigger. It's definitely heavier. I mean, the solar panels are different. The service module is, like, that service bay part itself is bigger. And the reason I didn't use the Perseus Block 2, well, aside from the fact that it didn't have enough fuel to take the significantly heavier exploration lander to the Mun, the reason I didn't use that is because it didn't have space for a experiment storage module, at least in a spot that would make sense and look nice. So I made a completely new spacecraft to accommodate that, and from that was born the Perseus Block 3. Yes, it's very nice. This space capsule in my little head cannon, it is possible. It is well, okay. So in Kerbin orbit, if it's not carrying any cargo, it has about 2090 something meters per second of delta V. If it's carrying no extra cargo, but it can. I've rated it to take. I can't even remember what the lander weighed. I think the lander weighed like 14 tons, and I worked in an extra ton of redundancy. So this vehicle is capable of, it has 2,090 meters per second without any cargo. With cargo, with up to 15 tons of cargo, it has 800, and so it is therefore capable of capturing it around the Mun, and then assuming it drops off the cargo at the Mun, it is capable of returning back to Kerbin. Or in this case, now we have also verified that it's capable of returning to the space station with use of some fairly unrealistic aero brakes. But that's not important because the mission was a smashing success. We completed all the goals. We landed on the Mun. We did lots of science, and we have brought that science to be processed in the laboratory sitting in low Kerbin orbit. And now that it's done, we will just take 2 crew members off the station. We took 2 crew members off the station, making sure to leave behind the 2 scientists so they could continue the research aboard the station. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to bring Jebediah back, and I wanted to free up that docking port for another spacecraft. And currently, the only spacecraft capable of returning those 3 extra Kerbals that are on the station is Soyuz, and it can only return 3. So this one brought up 2, and it had to bring 2 back down, because otherwise there would be no safe way to evacuate the station. Well, yeah, we'll go with that. There's no safe way to evacuate the station in emergency, so we had to bring down 2 Kerbals in the vehicle that brought up the 2. Speaking of the vehicle that brought up the 2, that is now... Oh, that was sketch right there. I warped around so I could do my deorbit burn and make sure that we would splash down when we landed. And I accidentally ended up boosting myself back towards the station, and I got a little bit hairy there. We got a little bit close, but we didn't hit it. So it was fine, I guess. But speaking of that spacecraft, bye-bye service module. You did us very well in the up to now. You withstood the rigors of re-entry the first time, but I don't think you'll be able to survive splashdown. And that is because I did not equip you with a parachute. I mean, there is a probe core on there, so I think if I did stick a parachute on there, it could have very well actually survive the full re-entry and get recovered. I think it's more fun to dish the service module. It's more realistic too to dish the service module. And that said, we have made it through the worst part of re-entry, and our drogue chute has deployed, and we can just watch the ocean as we drift down from the heavens towards it. And we can inspect our heat shield, just a visual inspection. Or actually, no, I'm hovering over the cut chute button, because I want to cut this drogue as soon as the mains open. So yeah, so we'll deploy the mains, we'll cut the drogue, and these will slow us the rest of the way down for our splashdown, which will be occurring imminently. And I think I'm going to jettison that heat shield any moment now. Oh, no, okay, so I'm just adjusting the spread angle on these so they don't clip into each other. It looks all nice. In case maybe I want to use this for a thumbnail. I don't think I want to use this for a thumbnail shot. It's kind of lame. But yeah, we did it. We just jettisoned. That's the word I'm looking for. Jettisoned the heat shield, and we are descending towards the sea for a nice, tranquil splashdown. And with that, that is going to conclude this video on this channel. On the screen for probably a little bit of a while now, there are 2 videos. On the left is one selected for you by YouTube's recommendation algorithm, and on the right is my most recent upload.